Sanya! Sanya! Sanya, it's flying towards my house.
Oh, just in time, right?
Moscow and St. Petersburg aren't sleeping. Hundreds of drones have hit Russia. Russians are screaming in fear.
What's going on? I don't understand anything right now. It landed right next to my house.
Strategic sites are on fire. Airports are closed. Flights are canceled. Russia is on the verge of collapse.
Well, you know it really smells like something's burning.
An apocalypse for the Kremlin. Russia is exploding from within. Hundreds of drones, destroyed factories, chaos in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Locals can't sleep because of the explosions. The streets are littered with debris and the air defense is simply powerless. The factories that fed Putin's war machine are burning and paralyzed. The entire Russian Federation is in a panic. Russians are screaming in hysteria. More on all of this coming up. Watch until the end. Hello everyone, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Renata Aslanova and here are the latest events. Panic has gripped Russia. Unknown objects, strange sounds, and nothing happened. Kremlin media can no longer keep up with making up excuses. Social networks are flooded with videos of explosions, and you can see the fear in people's eyes.
Every day, we witness the terrible crimes committed by the Kyiv regime.
Explosions, explosions, and more explosions are literally paralyzing Russia. Russians go to sleep to the sound of explosions, and they greet the dawn with them as well. The locals are not hiding their despair. The blasts keep people from sleeping. Everyone is anxious, the authorities remain silent, and fear spreads faster than the news.
Well, we were all asleep, woke up to a bang, and then smoke. There was glass all over the floor in every room. The children were terrified.
Locals complain that no one is shooting down the drones. The situation is a disaster.
There it goes again. Now even I can clearly see it from here. It's flying right over us, just above our heads. Up there above. It looks just like a small plane. It's a total disaster. Why aren't they shooting it down? It's shocking.
Even the Moscow region was stunned by all this activity. The streets of Moscow are littered with debris, windows are shattered, and building facades are damaged. Odintsova was also hit.
Well, my bay window suffered the most. My triplex, the triple glazed window, you could say it's gone.
And who blew up our dearly beloved, our cherished?
Neighbor, right next door.
Remember, the one we...
In St. Petersburg, the avant-garde factory is out of commission. Z channels in panic. Defense industry is falling apart before our eyes.
A large fire near the avant-garde factory in the Kalininsky district of St. Petersburg. Eyewitnesses heard loud explosions before the blaze.
According to Russian media reports, this facility produces, among other things, radio electronics, microcircuit technology, is involved in instrument engineering, and manufactures basic supporting structures for radio electronic equipment. The factory is included in the list of strategic and systemically important enterprises of the Russian Federation and holds the status of a federal scientific and production center. And that means it is a legitimate target for the Ukrainian armed forces. Air raid alerts, explosions, and of course, incoming strikes. These have now become everyday occurrences for Russians as well.
Sanya! Sanya! Sanya, it's flying toward my house.
What is actually going on right now? I don't understand anything right now. It hit right next to my house.
Moscow and the surrounding region have been shaking from explosions for quite some time now. The drones seem to have gone mad, reaching even the most remote locations and causing havoc.
It's so huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
I think it's some kind of inconspicuous thing.
No.
You know, like how birds fly in the corner?
The epicenter. Of the explosion was in Zelenograd. Footage of the explosion was leaked online.
It's flying towards my building, Sanya. Sanya! Sanya, please listen. There's something in the sky and it's flying straight toward my building right now. I can see it getting closer every second and I'm starting to get really worried. What should I do?
Unbelievable. All our cars are in the parking lot. Did you see those people? Did you hear?
Yeah, I heard.
Explosions non-stop. The Russians tirelessly recorded everything on video. Take a look at what they managed to capture.
Again.
Some Russians are even happy that they have time to grab their cameras to film the fire show.
Boom! Reload. I hope it's not people at all.
A swarm of drones heading toward the industrial zones. A cold calculation and a painful blow to Putin. Right after the powerful explosion, a real bang. Locals started leaking the first details. The strike hit the Elma Technopark. There's a large-scale fire at the site. The flames instantly engulfed the workshops and warehouses. Smoke covered all of Zelenograd. Local public pages are literally full of footage from the landing site. The situation is critical, but Moscow Mayor Sobyanin is trying to cover it up, claiming there's no damage and everything is under control. But footage from the scene tells a completely different story. Columns of smoke, firefighters, blocked roads. You can see it all with your own eyes. According to open sources, the Elma Technopark is not just warehouses. 60,000 square meters where electronics, optical equipment, control and measuring instruments, IT products and components are produced, items that directly support Russia's military machine. A legitimate and very painful target. At least 6 drones were used in the attack on Zelenograd. After the strike, the city froze. The streets were blocked off, commuter trains were halted, and there was panic at industrial sites. A reality that can no longer be hidden behind the phrase, "nothing happened." At the Kryukovo depot, train cars have been damaged, and there's a huge crater at the site of the impact. Meanwhile, things were also tense in other regions of the Moscow suburbs. These are the kinds of sounds Russians heard all night instead of lullabies. The sound of Ukrainian UAV engines could be heard in the sky over the villages of Miknevo and Barybino. According to them, the drones are flying very low and at a slow speed. Russians simply weren't prepared for something like this. In just 2 hours, there were 18 powerful explosions. Everything around is shaking.
Turn off the flash, turn off the flash.
Quiet, quiet, quiet.
Basically, here's a quick overview. This is what's happening here. That's what's happening over there. And that's what's happening right here. There are cops standing over there. There are cops standing there. Here too. Things went really, really badly here. Honestly, because something hit, well, those things just ended up falling over there, right in that particular spot. And this is what's happening here with us.
The night and morning were hellish in the Moscow region city of Dubna.
There it goes. A big drone is flying. It's somehow coming in over Dubna from the CKC, over the river. Maybe, perhaps it is just circling.
There it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. A drone. A missile will come after it. Right over the house. No, wait, the house is still farther away.
It's flying.
But it could turn around, you know. Where's the missile? It hurts my heart like this.
The locals just couldn't believe their eyes and even tried to change the drone's flight path with the power of thought. What else can you do when the glorious air defense isn't working?
It's flying. There it is.
Where are you going?
No way! Seriously! What exactly did I miss here? There it is, there it is.
The target of the UAV was the Kronstadt company, which develops drones.
That's it. For now, Kronstadt. All right, come on, that's all.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now. The largest nuclear physics research center in Russia seems to have faded into oblivion. The factory that produced the Molnia, Orion, Sirius, and Grom drones is now just a memory. But how epic!
Well, now that was a bit stronger. And right back there again. There are 3 of them. What the hell are fighter jets doing flying there?
Large unmanned aircraft. They shoot them down with missiles.
But it seems to me those are exactly the kind flying in from Ukraine. And of course, only those kinds fly in from Ukraine.
Another target for drones is the Dubna machine building plant. This enterprise specializes in the production of aviation and missile technology, in particular Orion-type drones.
That's it. It's gone. The situation there is bad.
But that's not all. The explosions literally paralyzed several more cities in the Moscow region, Podolsk, Troitsk, and Ramenskoye. Local residents didn't get a wink of sleep, and rescuers were fighting fires after the strikes.
Come on, let's go. Fly now.
terrifying night tour through the Ryazan region. These videos have already flooded the internet. Watch them right now. Around 300 drones created an explosive night in Russia. There was hardly a place where they didn't send their fiery greetings. As usual, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported on the work of air defense systems in the Bryansk, Belgorod, Vladimir, Voronezh, Ivanovo, Kaluga, Kursk, Oryol, Ryazan, Smolensk, Tver, and Tula regions.
It's going to be beautiful.
The sparks, those...
What's flying?
You'll see in just a second. Just wait. How did those fly?
Crap. Red streaks.
Yeah. Not streaks, but those...
Look.
There it is. Where?
There.
Get out, Vova, get out.
Damn, something fell over there. This is just insane!
In a panic, the authorities immediately halt operations at the airports, Domodedovo, Vnukovo, and Zhukovsky. Passengers are in shock, flights are cancelled, and the airspace is completely closed. The footage shows utter chaos, an atmosphere of total apocalypse. Is this a line for water? To be continued. Sorry that you didn't get it. We continue for 3 minutes. You are seated on the floor.
There are a lot of people. There are a lot of delays.
And these are the kinds of lines.
Revolution on the front line. Ukraine has launched drones with artificial intelligence. These machines hunt without human involvement. Ultra-precise strikes. The first battles have already shown. The enemy didn't even have time to understand what happened. A new stage of the war. Drones select their own targets and strike without missing. We'll show you what this weapon of the future is right now.
A revolution in the field of drone control and management. Ukrainian defenders are presenting their unique fire control system. No other country in the world has anything like this in service. Drone pilots are no longer needed. Artificial intelligence has taken their place. The Ukrainian startup Strategy Force Solution has for the first time used its advanced Gogol-M mother drones for autonomous combat missions against Russian targets deep behind enemy lines. A mission costing $10,000 now replaces what previously required missile systems costing $3 to $5 million. It is worth noting that this is by no means the only instance of so-called mother drones being used at the front. One of the first in this field was the Ukrainian Dovbush T-10. Under its wing, this massive UAV carries several smaller FPV drones. After delivering them to the location, the Dovbush drops them from a high altitude, and then, with the help of an operator, they are guided toward a potential target. In this way, the UAV becomes a multi-purpose frontline drone for supporting both offensive and defensive operations of the Ukrainian armed forces, experts explain.
This allows us to address issues such as eliminating or destroying electronic warfare equipment or radar systems, that is, air defense systems. Because in this case, the small charge that an FPV drone can carry is enough to disable a large machine that operates and can monitor the airspace within 100 kilometers around itself.
But while the Ukrainian drone Dovbush is still piloted by a human, the domestic Gogol-M is unique in that it is fully autonomous. Here, everything is controlled by AI, which uses a combination of advanced sensors and lidars. This world model allows the artificial intelligence to make decisions based on the flight trajectory and to carry out missions just as well as a human pilot.
In a certain sense, it's similar to a self-driving car. For the autopilot to work properly, it needs a lot of cameras. There aren't as many obstacles in the air, so we make the system lightweight. That's exactly how we developed our camera system, LiDAR and communications, which allow the artificial intelligence to navigate, coordinate actions, and maneuver around obstacles. This enables autonomous flight, navigation, and interaction without GPS and constant operator supervision.
According to the developers, this approach allows the mothership drone to strike targets at distances of up to 300 kilometers.
We're talking not only about the operational rear of the Russian army, but also accordingly the strategic rear. This means the ability to strike both permanent and temporary personnel deployment points, command and control centers, and most importantly, both field ammunition depots and accordingly stationary ones. Plus locations where heavy armored vehicles are concentrated. And note, all of this is within the rear infrastructure of the Russian occupation army itself, and not only in the occupied territories of Ukraine, but primarily in the territory of occupied Crimea. This in turn reduces the ability to provide logistics, to transfer personnel, armored vehicles, and fuel and lubricants to the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia directions, and most importantly, to the territory of the Russian Federation itself. This is a very significant challenge that makes it impossible for the Russian side.
Let's take a closer look at the strike capabilities of the Gogol-M. Under the wing of the AI-controlled mothership drone are two more compact FPVs. Each of them is equipped with its own lightweight version of a smart autopilot.
This is a very important nuance that essentially nullifies the effectiveness of Russian electronic warfare systems in countering Ukrainian drones at the moment of engagement. Here, as they say, we are already ahead of the Russian Federation at this point.
Both in terms of advanced technological solutions and in the ongoing and continuous improvement of modern strike systems.
But the uniqueness of the Ukrainian development doesn't end there. According to the developers of Gogol-M, its FPV drones can not only autonomously home in on a target, but if necessary, literally hunt it down. The strike UAVs are even capable of landing and waiting for the target to appear, or for example, for it to leave its fortified shelters. Such drones can be left along the route of a convoy, ready for an autonomous attack when enemy vehicles come into view, or they can be hidden near enemy airfields.
It specifically supports missions involving ambushes, landing, and waiting for targets, as well as autonomous real-time search.
The developers promise that very soon they will reach a production volume of 50 Gogol-M mother drones per month and 400 strike FPVs for them. The engineers also plan to scale up the project so that the mother drone can carry a larger payload.
In the future, we will see such drones that will be able to carry 6, 12, or maybe even more drones, which will then, for example, conduct reconnaissance and then carry out combat missions. That is thanks to the fact that the large drone, for example, conducts reconnaissance, and then designates a target, and then using the FPV drone it carries under its wing, directly destroys that target.
Russia in the crosshairs? The West's permission to strike deep into Russia is a trump card that could change the course of the war. Now, the Ukrainian armed forces will be able to reach places where Moscow doesn't even expect it. How far can Ukrainian strikes reach? Russia could be left defenseless. We reveal the targets that are already in the danger zone. Watch.
Tula, Kaluga, Smolensk, Bryansk, Oryol, Voronezh. This is not a complete list of Russian cities that can be reached by Taurus, ATACMS, and Storm Shadow missiles. France, Britain, the USA, and Germany have lifted restrictions on long-range strikes with the weapons they supply.
There's really nothing pleasant about the fact that, in the 4th year of the war, a crazed Kiev is striking our territory with Western weapons. It's foolish to say that there's nothing alarming about this change in approach because strikes on our land will happen. Now the arms lobby will drain all the remaining missile stockpiles, including the German Taurus missiles, make a fuss in the foreign press, just like they're doing now with the Patriot, and squeeze even more money out of the population of the free Western world. Two majors.
This is a post from one of the Russian channels with an audience of over 1 million. Of course, this decision should have been made much earlier, but even now this is making Russia burn.
This decision is 3 years late, actually 3.5 years late. Yes, it's a belated decision. Within the range of long-range weaponry, practically all critically important military facilities in the European part of Russia are now in reach. These are personnel training centers, locations where military equipment is concentrated. Those notorious GRAU arsenals, GRAU meaning huge ammunition depots, yes. In other words, these are major permanent structures. And then there are the military airfields, which allow planes to take off regularly, planes that drop FABs with UMPCs, for example, on Kharkiv, among other places. So if you force them to move further away, they won't be able to use these airfields, and the frequency of bombings will decrease.
After Ukraine received official permission to carry out long-range strikes with European missiles, Russia urgently requested an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. The Kremlin cited the reason for this alarm as threats to global peace caused by the actions of European countries. From this, we can conclude that allowing strikes on Russia with Western weapons, although belated, is the right step.
If Russia intensifies its strikes on Ukraine, then our country must respond in kind. Russians only understand strength, and the sooner Europeans realize this, the better. After all these outcries are certainly not about disrupting any peace agreements. On the contrary, this actually strengthens Ukraine's position.
Currently, the range of missile strikes is 300 kilometers. It is possible that Germany will supply a modification of the Taurus missiles with a range of 500 kilometers. This would create even more problems for the Russian Federation. There is also a possibility that the United States may lift all restrictions on its weapons that were imposed under Joe Biden. Donald Trump is seriously considering doing this, according to two high-ranking Western officials who told the Washington correspondent of the Kyiv Post,
all previously imposed restrictions, regardless of whether they have already been eased or not, are currently under review, since President Trump believes that the current status quo does not serve our shared interests in bringing Russia to the negotiating table. Kyiv Post.
Exactly which restrictions are being discussed, whether on arms supplies or on strikes against Russian territory, remains unknown for now. But for Russian air defense, this is a very bad signal. If Ukraine begins to carry out combined missile and drone strikes similar to those that the Russian Federation has been conducting recently,
they will have to increase the number of air defense missile systems, especially at those sites they consider important. But if we translate this into real terms, then all of Putin's residences will be covered with additional air defense missile systems, which will be pulled in from the borders, from Russia's eastern borders. In other words, what we're seeing now, they'll have to increase it even more if they're already constantly pulling in air defense missile systems, and we keep seeing these systems in Arctic camouflage, for example, in Moscow, then now there will be even more of them. Honestly, I have no idea what they're planning to use to cover the eastern and northern Russian borders. I'm afraid it's going to be frightening.
Russia doesn't have enough missile defense systems to even cover the European part of the country. So permission for long-range strikes could give Ukraine an extra advantage in the upcoming negotiations with the aggressor.
That's all from me for now. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next strike against the occupiers. See you next time.